Domestic violence is one of the most heavily prosecuted and one of the most serious charges that you could face in California. Now, in order for you to be shown or proven guilty of a violation of a domestic violence charge, there's 3 elements that have to be met. First, there has to be shown that you willfully inflicted some kind of physical injury on either your spouse, your cohabitant, or the mother, father of the child, or someone with which you had previously engaged in some kind of dating relationship. That's the first one. Secondly, there has to be some kind of injury that resulted in what's called a traumatic condition on the victim. And third, you did not act in any kind of self-defense for yourself or self-defense of a third party. So if you are convicted of a domestic violence charge, this is what is called a wobbler offense, meaning that it can either be a felony or a misdemeanor based on the specific facts of your case as well as your criminal history. Now, if you were charged with and convicted of this charge as a misdemeanor, you could go to jail for upwards of 1 year. On the other side of things, if you are convicted of this charge as a felony, you could go to state prison for upwards of 2, 3, or 4 years and be required to serve at least 50% of that time in custody. Now, in addition to this, there's also a requirement that by law, you have to take what's called a 52-week batter's treatment program, which is extremely time-consuming and extremely costly. Now, in addition to this, you also have very heavy fines, fees, donations that have to be assessed and added to the penalties that you could face. On top of that, this kind of charge becomes even more difficult if it's an incident in which a victim and the defendant still have a dating relationship. In other words, the incident happened from a fight that they've since made up from. Now, this becomes more difficult if they're in a dating relationship because most judges are required to issue what's called a criminal protective order. A criminal protective order essentially can forbid you, as the accused, from being able to go anywhere near the alleged victim, which could be your spouse or girlfriend or someone along those lines. Now, this is important because if you were to violate that order, you're going to go back into jail for a new violation of Penal Code Section 273.6, which is violating a restraining order. There are several common defenses to a domestic violence charge. Now, commonly, you can fight these charges under the defense of self-defense. If it can be shown through whatever incident that took place that you were not the initial aggressor, that in fact you were attacked, and that you were simply defending yourself, then you cannot be found guilty of a domestic violence charge. Now, a lot of times people in relationships where the relationship goes south and things end poorly, the alleged victim can sometimes make up statements in order to find someone in trouble with the law and being charged with a very serious charge of domestic violence. But as time goes on, as statements are made and testimony by the victim are given in court, the stories start to fall apart. The lies start to fall apart, and the truth eventually will come out, and your case can ultimately be dismissed. For more information about this case and any other case, please give me a call.